Hey everyone and welcome to the video. So, I wanted to get this video up a couple days ago, but time kind of got away from me, so I'm making it now nice and quick for you. So, basically my comment section recently, and very fairly, has been, where is the Saints Row 2 remaster? Saints Row 4 is getting a big update, where's Saints Row 2? Where's Saints Row 2? Where's Saints Row 2? Or even, where's Saints Row 1? Well, I want to kind of talk about that and give my opinion on it, because I think it's quite a hard question to answer. And externally, it may just look like they're favouring the newer games, but when you actually look into it, it does kind of make some sense as to why this is the case. So, starting off, Saints Row 2's source code, it is a mess. It is pretty much impossible to work with, and quite frankly, to remaster Saints Row 2, you'd put more money into it than just making it from the ground up. Its source code is just such a wreck that making a Saints Row 2 remaster is impossible at the moment. However, I don't know what the new Saints Row 2 patch is going to contain. So, the Saints Row 2 patch could, for all we know, fix this source code and make a remaster more viable. Speaking on the Saints Row 2 patch, why would they go and remake Saints Row 2 when they're about to update it with the Saints Row 2 patch they've been working on for a few years now? I'm not going to lie, it's taking its time, okay? No denial from me, I would love to see it sped up, but, quite frankly, it's going to take the time it's going to need to take. It's obviously not a main project for Volition, and I think it's just being done by a small group of devs who are close to the project and close to Mike. So it's not really like the most fully funded thing, it's more of a passion project between the devs, and I'm not 100% certain on that, but I believe that's what I've been told. So that kind of explains why the patch is taking its time. Now, I don't see them remaking Saints Row 2 whilst working on a patch for the original version, because that doesn't make much sense. People will just play the remake, right? Same with a remaster. Why would they pump a bunch of money into it when there's a patch on the way that's going to make this a lot easier? Basically, what I was saying is, it doesn't quite make sense to remaster Saints Row 2 currently, as while there's a patch in the works, you'd be putting all that effort going into that patch to the side. It'd be wasted, and it wouldn't be fair on Mike as well. On top of that, financially, it would cost so much, because you'd basically have to remake it, as I said, and with Deep Silver losing the IP to Saints Row, to Gearbox, it's not going to happen. Deep Silver's not going to funnel a ton of money into Saints Row 2 Remastered or Saints Row 1 Remake or Saints Row 2 Remake just for them to lose the IP. It just doesn't make sense. And the reason we've got the Saints Row 4 thing is they're just moving a version that already exists to different stores. They haven't made anything new. It was a really quick port over, and I'm sure there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. The point I'm making is the version that they are moving to the stores already existed. They have not gone and remastered Saints Row 4. They've just updated it to the newer stores so you can get the re-elected version. No remake, no remaster, no enhancement has been added, they're just porting what already exists. Now, again, for Saints Row 2, it would just cost a ton of money, and Deep Silver's not going to do that when they don't own the IP. It just doesn't make sense for them to go and release a remake that's going to take a few years. They might lose the IP before they could even finish it. I mean, Gearbox is taking over, and when they put it their Saints Row, they have full control over the IP. So let's say that Deep Silver now started development on a Saints Row 2 Remastered. It's not going to happen under Deep Silver, so there's no point authorizing one. At least that's how I would look at it. Now, this does mean, however, when the Gearbox transfer is over, it may seem more acceptable to work on a remake for Saints Row 2 or Saints Row 1, and perhaps Gearbox has better resources to do that, but quite frankly, I don't think Deep Silver does, and I don't think Deep Silver's going to go and release a sort of remaster or remake for a game that they're losing. They're losing the title to. It just doesn't make sense for Deep Silver. So, what I would say, if you are really hoping for a Saints Row 2 or 1 remaster in this short video, all I can say is, it may happen, but I don't think it will happen now because it doesn't make much sense to do it. I don't think Deep Silver is going to start development on a remaster or remake when they're losing the IP. It just doesn't make much sense, sadly. However, Gearbox may. Gearbox may decide that this is the move. Maybe Gearbox goes, Volition, we want you to recreate this game, and that may happen. But we're going to have to wait for Gearbox to basically take over fully first, because it's still in Deep Silver's hands until they release their Saints Row. So, I don't think the Saints Row remake is anywhere around the corner, sadly. Not the best news I know, and maybe it's not the news you want to hear, but it's just the situation. But it's not like all hope is lost, and I think that what may happen, if we're lucky, if we are honestly lucky, what may happen is the Saints Row 2 patch will come out that was done by Mike and the team, and then Gearbox may go, well, now that the source code's a bit easier to work with after they've kind of polished Saints Row 2's PC port, they'll go, okay, could we upgrade the visuals on this version? And that may get ported to newer consoles, so when the patch is out and the source code's a bit easier to work with, and the game's in a more stable and polished state, they can use that as the foundation for a remaster. Or, if we're lucky, they may look at Saints Row 1 and 2 and go, wow, there's a lot of fans of these games. We should authorize some remakes now that we have more of a budget. This may be well off in a few years. Remember, Gearbox has more resources. That was why the move of Volition happened, because Gearbox has the resources to manage Saints Row. So, for all we know, Gearbox may look at the older games when they have full control over the IPs and go, wow, there is a serious demand for these games, and they may outsource them. Or maybe they'll do an in-house sort of remaster. We don't know, but I think the best move, if you're after a Saints Row 1 and 2 remaster, is wait till we hear what Gearbox has to say, which may be a few years off, sadly. That's just the case, that's just the situation, but hey, you've waited a good amount of years already. What's a couple more? All I can say is I hope that Gearbox does understand that there is a big demand for these games, and I hope that they have the resources to do it, but for everyone kind of wanting the remaster now and wanting to hear that they're going to remaster it, you're just going to be disappointed because it doesn't make a great deal of sense, sadly. It's not the news you want to hear, and I'm sorry to deliver it like this, but this is kind of where I'm at. It just doesn't make a great deal of sense, business-wise, to remaster it. And with, Saints Row being quite polarizing, I think they're also going to try and focus on what the new Saints Row is going to be and not kind of go back to the past currently. I don't know. I'm not a Volition dev. I don't have the inside scoop on a lot of this stuff, and a lot of this is just my opinion and where I theorize, but I think that looking at it like this, it doesn't make a lot of sense for anything to do with Deep Silver to work on this remake, and the reason they did the Saints Row 4 thing was because it was really easy to port across. The version already existed. And I'm sure that if there was a remastered version of Saints Row 2 that existed right now, they'd port that across too. But it doesn't. So, all I can really say, honestly, all I can say is, if you want a Saints Row 1 and 2 remaster, hold out. Because in the future, you may be surprised. Maybe Gearbox will see what the fans kind of want. Maybe Gearbox will look at this OG community and go, damn, there is a demand for these games, and maybe Gearbox will authorize them. But as for now, I think kind of asking for it and complaining that it's not here, it won't achieve much, due to the fact I don't think there's any chance of it coming here. Mainly because Deep Silver is switching away, Gearbox is moving in, there's a lot of movement going on, and I don't think the next thing they're going to do on Deep Silver's behalf is authorize the remaster when it's going to cost a ton of money and financial issues. It's too big of an investment whilst there's too many moving parts currently. However, in the future, when things settle down, we may, just maybe, will be delightfully surprised. Anyway, that's my take on it. You're welcome to disagree, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.